over magnet on it, okay, what you're going to find is this car really holds the track well. Both of those guide pins working, again, on a regular track. This is not made for digging, and it is not made for a power passer track. So, as you can see, the motor is upside down, not like a power passer that sticks straight up. And the motor contacts go on against these here brass tabs, which send it up here, and then of course on the bottom it picks up the voltage. Again, you see that type of wheel, right? Pretty much a standard car for a standard Artin track, and that's what the wheels look like. Then you take and get another one, which is absolutely a standard one, and you can see just by glancing, okay, in general, that car is exactly the same. The gears for the back here, the pinion and the crown gear, are exactly the same, but the rims are different, and so are the tires. Okay, this particular one has narrow tires in the front and a little bit wider in the back, and that there is kind of a standard. In the very beginning, they came out with Artin cars. They were the same size front and rear, all right, and had that type of rims. Again, still an Artin standard car, but just a different rim. Okay, both of the motors are the same. May have blue on this one here. It makes no difference whatsoever. But those gears and that motor will interchange, so will the lights. They're all the same. But what you'll also notice is notice that that one has a longer wheelbase. Well, it really doesn't. What you're seeing there is, in the front of all the Artin cars, if you get a bunch of chassis from me, okay, and for some reason that you say, oh, wait a minute, they're not fitting my car. There's 3 different holes that you can move that front axle in. So you can change into the center or all the way down here, which makes it even shorter, to take and fit the body that you're trying to put on. So it does not matter which one you get. It can take and that axle may be in the very center, but your car might be a little longer wheelbase and you need to move it to the front. Remove the rubber, twist these back and forth, and it'll come apart. Push it all back together, put your tires back on, you're ready to go. 90% of those chassis will just hook right up. Now, they do make some of these, okay, and once in a while you'll find a body, because of what they added back here, just does not want to go up in there like it's supposed to. So that is a difference there on that particular chassis. Now, they came out with lots of chassis and lots of cars. The Lamborghini has to have these narrow tires in the front. If it does not, okay, the wider tires, which are like this here, put into the same place. If you take this chassis here and try to put it into this here car, those front tires will rub the headlight assembly in there. Even though they're just a little bit different, they're different enough. Okay, so if you order this particular chassis from me, which is a standard chassis, all tires the same size, but you have a Lamborghini that you want to fit, do not buy this one. Buy the one with the narrow front tires. Okay, cost a little teeny bit difference, but that's what will make it fit your Lamborghini with no problems. Okay, if you don't do that, it's just not going to work. Okay, now a lot of people will take and want, this is a power passer, but they will want to put these tires on the back of this Lamborghini. Well, just glancing at it, okay, what you'll see is how that tire lays up under there and that fender well. You can take and do it, but you're going to have to take and nip that axle, take this here rim off and nip, I mean just a teeny bit on both sides of this, and then put the wide tires up in there, and they'll kind of be tubbed out in a sense, but making that differential a little teeny bit shorter will allow the big tires to get in there. I've done a couple cars like that. They look pretty cool. Anyway, that's the Lamborghini, and that one there is mounted, okay, but what you'll notice is it has a Krager type wheel. Once again, different than these. But again, it's still a standard Artin car. Alright, now then you get your trucks, you know, trucks that look like this here as far as the bodies and such. Alright, they're great looking as far as that goes, kind of neat, but all of a sudden you got wide tires all the way around. It's still all Artin. It's still the standard Artin, and these gears and this axle, all that stuff as far as that size wise here, and the teeth on there, the amount, and so the car itself, or the truck itself, is exactly the same. You could take this motor out of a car and change it out, and they both would work the same. Again, it's tied down to both of these brass plates that give it the voltage to the front. In this case, that truck does not have headlights, so that's why they're not showing. The bottom of the car, okay, this one here is one of my test cars. I put 4 magnets, silver magnets on there, and put it on a 1/24 scale track, and just to see how fast I could make it go without it flying off the track. That's pretty good. Anyway, this particular chassis, that's the way it looks, and it's designed just for that truck, because on the top of this, all right, it has this, all right, and that son of a gun, when you're trying to take and maybe get it off to take and do some changes and stuff, you'll see that it has a clip on this side and a clip on the other side. Well, sometimes it seemed like Artin thought, okay, well, you know what, on some of them we'll leave just alone, well enough alone, and others we'll put a dab of glue there. In this case, I almost had to break this here to get this off, to get to the motor, so I could take and get it, you know, replaced and do the item or do the changes to this truck that I wanted to. So it can be a pain in the butt to take and do that. In this case, all right, this particular truck has a body suspension. So on the top, this is some of the reason for this here. That spring kind of sits up in there, okay, just like so. And then the truck itself, when it's mounted up in there, you'll notice inside is another place for the spring to ride. So when the truck, everything is mounted, the truck can take and move back and forth as far as it goes, simulating suspension. And it's pretty neat as far as seeing it wobbling down the track and the body moving around and things like that, but there is a difference there. So if you need parts for this, you're going to have to do this in parts, because you definitely cannot order a standard chassis like this and replace it for your truck. It won't work. There's no way that I have found to do it. So you're kind of stuck with that. Okay, and then you have the motorcycles. And the only reason I'm showing the motorcycles, once again, the chassis are different. They're not night and day different. In fact, they almost look the same at a glance as the others. Okay? Now, but what you'll notice in some cases, all right, this particular chassis on this item, these are exactly the same. So this particular one here will fit that. But if you notice on one of your motorcycles that it has narrow tires in the front, there's probably a reason to take and do that. So make sure you get the chassis that has the narrow tires on the front. Okay. The other thing is even though this has a black magnet on it, silver magnets are advised, simply because there's some top weight here. And don't misunderstand me, if you get this particular motorcycle, which is awesome looking as far as it goes, lots of detail, and it will run the track, it will not hold corners as well. It's just top heavy, all right? There's nothing wrong with it, it just is top heavy. So I absolutely will not take a return because you think it won't hold the track. They're top heavy, all right? Just the way it is, it's nothing against the car. The chassis itself is fine. Now, if you add some silver magnets to that, right, and take this one here off, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So that's something I would suggest with these types. No matter if you're old or new, putting those silver magnets underneath will make all the difference in the world. And this little guy here will take and stay on the track a lot better. But like he is right now, just like they came out when they built them, okay? I don't care. Nobody can take a say these cars, back when they were made, held the track real well on corners. They just didn't. They are top heavy, but they're kind of neat looking, so, and a lot of kids like them. Then you got guys like on skateboards, all right? And there's some different models and such that I do not have in stock right at the moment. But, you know, there are all kinds of differences. Now, one difference here on this guy is you'll find that there's screws to take and mount that. Those holes are pre-drilled, all right? And that's the kind of chassis you must use to replace this here, not unless you do some modifications. Now, you could probably take this here chassis here, which is basically the same thing, all right, but it doesn't have the holes, but it does have a wide enough gap here, or this here bar that's on the side, to drill a small hole and be able to take and put that up in there and replace that, all right? Once again, a different type of rim though, all right? These rims will work up in there more than likely. I don't see a problem with it, but the chassis will not bolt up in there until you drill a couple holes to make it happen. Finding these in bulk would be almost next to impossible, okay? Now, Artin is kind of funny. They must have done with the dealers, because they would send just a whole bunch of bodies out, all right, like this one for example, okay? And the body would come out and it would be wrapped in plastic. A lot of times it was just clear plastic, it wasn't bubble wrap. And then they would send the dealers just a whole bunch of different chassis. I guess the only thing I can take and say, because I have bought out a lot of inventory, is that the dealers must have had to take and put some of these cars together. So in some cases, some cars may have wide tires on the back, some may have narrow. If I put them together, because I had hundreds of just bodies that I had to mate up with chassis, I may have put this chassis in the place of one that had completely different wheels, or maybe originally it was designed, you know, to take and have that wheel on there, but they got this chassis because it's just the one that I had available to put into it. So that's kind of how it happened. Now there's a lot that there's only one way you can get them, and it comes complete. That one, you know, the skateboard guy, the trucks, you just can't, you know, substitute that. But all the other cars, a lot of them are interchangeable. So basically that's pretty much about it. Again, just a brief recap of some things. Power passer track, if you've got this, you need power passers, unless you're going to convert it. And if you have questions about that, let me know. We'll make it work. I can walk you through anything as far as making a change on it. The power passer cars, bottom line is they're great little cars, but they work as is. They only work on power passer tracks as far as well. Now you can put it on a DC track and they will run, but that diode, I think it's the B car, will actually drive the opposite direction if you put it on your track. Not the power passer track, just a regular DC track, a regular standard Artin, so just keep that in mind. But if you order these by accident and you're like, doggone it, I got the wrong cars, I ordered 6 of them, etc., you got a 6-pack from me, that's fine. I can walk you through it. Yes, you do have to take and do a couple wire cuts, and they can run those wires down to the tabs, but it is doable, and you don't lose any money. And I like I say, I try to explain everything. I do not take returns because the wrong item was ordered. Now I may show, you know, sympathy on you on your next order, you know, try to take and help you out the best that I can, but I can't afford to take and lose in that situation, okay? It just simply because I don't have that kind of extra overhead to take and do that. Almost every single car that I sell, every one of them, none of them are used, they are new, but I open those cars and glance. I glance to make sure that when those cars were built, nothing was done wrong. I just look at them. That's all I really do. I do not power them up. They're not, you know, run or anything like that. The tires don't hit a track and take and even do one lap. I never do stuff like that. But I will open those cars, and because a car that comes to me like this, even though it's brand spanking new, right, and bubble wrap, the whole 9 yards, this is a power passer, I can't see through that. I can't tell if those tires are perfect. I can't tell if one tire was pushed to the side and it's warped. I can't take and tell that there's just a ton of grease that got all over one of the tires. And when you get it, you're going to pull it out of this package and you're going to say, what a piece of junk. You'd be surprised on how many cars I have to toss. That's why you'll see sometimes just a ton of extra miscellaneous that I pile up in a big pile. Those are cars that didn't pass inspection. If they don't pass inspection, I'm not going to list them. So I have to open each one of them just to give it a quick visual, and I make sure I spin the back wheel with my thumb. I can tell if a pinion gear is bad on it before I even send it out. If it is, I stop right there, either replace the pinion gear or I don't sell the car. So you'll get cars that are going to take and run every single time. I think I have had one, but that's out of thousands of cars that someone told me, hey, the car's not running. The Mustang, the red one worked, but the yellow one didn't. And I asked a couple questions, we figure it out. Either I'll just send another complete car, no charge whatsoever, or I'll take and, you know, let them know exactly what they can take and do to make that repair. But always, feel free to ask questions. I'm not a super expert on every slot car question or problem that you may come across, but I'll give it a shot. One way or another, maybe I can at least lead you to the guy that can. Again, thank you for your time, and bye-bye.